Sung-Jin-Woo might appear to be a simple character if perceived from the outside shell, but inside lies greater depth that might shatter your perceived image of the guy. I'll be covering his appearance, expressions, motivations, and even his trauma. Ladies and gentlemen, you chose this video because you have a refined taste and you're a soul that appreciates the different elements of life. For that, I introduce you to Kanjuro channel, where we mix psychology and philosophy with anime, because I believe that wisdom should be taken from wherever it can be found, even in anime. Appearance. The protagonist is wearing cheap casual clothes that accurately indicate that he belongs to a low class within society. He has long hair that displays unseriousness. This is mostly due to having bigger concerns than mere appearance. Body language. In terms of his body language, he is often seen using fake smiles, likely to fit in with society and avoid conflict. Moreover, he has a weak posture that gives the impression that he lacks self-confidence and that he is doubtful of his value and capabilities. Furthermore, he looks around too much. This habit means that he is subconsciously observing his environment constantly to identify any potential predators that might threaten his safety, meaning that he feels insecure whenever he exists in a crowded place. Also, he touches his hair quite frequently, implying that he is soothing himself from stress by touching his hair. Individuals learn this behavior early on in life, specifically in childhood, when their mothers soothe them by caressing their hair to make them relax, which refers to attachment theory that suggests that people are born with a need to forge bonds with caregivers as children. These early bonds may continue to have an influence on attachment throughout life. Tonality. His voice tonality, being high-pitched, conveys feelings related to fear. That is why people subconsciously employ a high-pitched tone during interactions with people that they deem superior. There is even evidence that women's voice become high-pitched when talking to men that they are attracted to. He most likely uses it to please people and avoid causing any negative feelings, which also indicate that he feels inferior in terms of his societal position. Motivations. The first motivation is survival. Because he is from a lower economic and social status, he dedicates his time to being a hunter despite his powers being so low that it's fair to call him an ordinary citizen. His motivation is simply survival, which is one of the most primal forces human beings wield. Survival makes one centralize his focus on eliminating any existing threat. The evidence behind this is this moment in episode 2. It shows the degree in which he is holding on to life despite the position he is in. The second one is optimism, where the two members of the Hunters Association surveillance team tested him to verify a second awakening. He rushed to the optimistic conclusion only to be disappointed, which indicates that his motivation is being nourished by his optimistic view. This optimism might have arose as a consequence of doubting his capabilities with the purpose of remaining unbroken. We humans lie to ourselves in order to protect our spirit, determination, and sanity. His made-up optimism was his motivating factor. It led him to staying consistent and unbroken at all times, especially when he has no alternative. The third one is responsibility. His mother's medical condition requires financial means, which drove Sung-Jin-Woo to work manual labor and later qualified for a hunter license. Despite being considered a burden, he relentlessly kept showing up with the hope of achieving the basic need of providing medical treatment for his ill mother. His sense of responsibility is not only visible in his care for his mother, but in his fellow human beings as well. In the temple, he showed his heroic inclination as a sacrifice, with the hope of his comrades leaving the temple unharmed. This alone conveys that he is a person with high empathy and compassion levels. Transformation. As you watched in the first episodes of the anime, the protagonist was essentially weak, insecure, fearful, and unstable. However, with the constant training he was enduring, thanks to the game system, he was able to forge a new identity that transformed him completely. We've all seen how Sung-Jin-Woo appeared to have transformed dramatically, both in terms of appearance and personality. Appearance-wise, he changed his haircut, is wearing better clothing, and has a solid physique. Oftentimes, writers include appearance in the character transformation due to human beings valuing appearance instantly, as it is the first piece of data someone has access to and it is easier to identify. I speculate that his physical transformation conveys seriousness in his conduct and increase in both social and economic status, in addition to independence. When it comes to his haircut, it shows a higher level of masculinity and self-care. When a person experiences traumatic incidents and is a victim to post-traumatic stress disorder, his psychological response is likely to be dissociation and hyperarousal. Traumatic stress leads to functional reorganization in the brain and may trigger an alarm response. However, when the traumatic event produces severe helplessness, the predominant pre-traumatic response may instead be marked by a dissociative shutdown reaction. The neural correlates of this dissociative shutdown were investigated by presenting rapidly presented effective pictures to female participants with post-traumatic stress disorder, PTSD, and compare responses to non-PTSD control group. It is a mechanism for the human psyche to adapt to its environment in order to increase the possibility for survival. That is why we see Sung-Jin-Woo significantly more stable and grounded after he got sacrificed. The level of physical pain and humiliation he experienced is high to a level that most people won't survive even after the incident have passed. They won't be able to live with themselves, so the brain has to shut the feelings off with the goal of moving on, surviving, and having the mental bandwidth to deal with similar situations in the future. Sung-Jin-Woo's appearance, body language, voice tonality, and so on are all linked to being lower status and having an insecure identity that is built as a consequence of his social and economic status, on top of having low abilities, making it completely justified. After he got sacrificed in the temple, we observed that he transformed dramatically in terms of appearance, ability, and especially his attitude and personality. The confidence he carried himself with is the byproduct of dissociating his emotions thanks to his PTSD and of climbing the status ladder. The symptoms of hyperarousal and dissociation were crucial in making his brain adapt to the intensity of traumatic events, making him unstoppable in the fighting scene. After his transformation, he actually becomes more grounded and focused in traumatic situations because it activates his survival function of dissociation and hyperarousal as a reaction to an event which reminds him of his past trauma.